OFWs, the Philippines' modern-day heroes, is one of the biggest lies ever told in Philippine history. OFWs being modern-day heroes is one of the most common sentiments seen among Filipinos. They provide money that feeds families and powers the domestic economy, they keep essential services, develop nations afloat, and they make the Filipino known to the world at large as hardworking, selfless, kind, friendly, happy, and all the positive adjectives in between. With over 2.16 million OFWs according to the Philippine Statistics Authority in 2023, and about 15 million plus overseas Filipinos, basically Filipinos who permanently settled in another country, every family has at least one relative working or living abroad, including mine. But this sentiment, I believe, is one of the biggest lies ever told to us Filipinos. And it's not just bad because it's a lie. It's bad because of its scarring effects on people and the country. OFWs are hardworking, selfless, kind, friendly, and happy. They deserve to be applauded for their work. But at the same time, encouraging hundreds of thousands of people to go abroad to work splits families apart, disincentivizes local employers to increase wages, and rids the nation of its chance to take advantage of its most brilliant and talented minds, and leaves them at the hands of their foreign employers. OFWs, at least in my opinion, are not heroes, but victims. Victims of a system that instead of making life better for all at home, encourages others to go somewhere else instead for good pay or living conditions, all to keep the system and social cancer that plagues our nation alive. And I'm here to tell you exactly why. First off, however, what exactly is an OFW? For the uninitiated, an OFW, short for Overseas Filipino Worker, are Filipinos who are working abroad temporarily. Their time abroad is determined by formal agreements between employers and employee, as well as their visas. It's important to differentiate OFWs from overseas Filipinos or the Filipino diaspora as a whole. OFWs are overseas Filipinos, but not all overseas Filipinos are OFWs. Overseas Filipinos are often defined as all Filipinos living outside the Philippines, regardless of whether they are working. This is a much broader group of Filipinos and covers families who permanently settled abroad, students studying in foreign countries, children of OFWs who live abroad with them, and the like. To be clear, I will mainly be covering OFWs in this video, and not overseas Filipinos as a whole. No video idea, anyone? The history of OFWs can be traced back to the 1970s under the Marcos administration, when the Philippine government first began promoting labor migration as a solution to its domestic unemployment and as a way to earn foreign exchange. The term overseas Filipino worker became more formalized as the government established the POEA, or the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, in 1982, which managed contracts, placements, and protections for Filipinos working abroad. Since then, OFWs have been sent to countries across the Middle East, North America, Europe, and Asia, filling roles in healthcare, domestic work, engineering, IT, seafaring, and more. The remittances they send home have become a major component of the Philippine economy, contributing billions of dollars annually and making the Philippines one of the top remittance-receiving countries in the world. Over the decades, the OFW phenomenon has evolved from being just an economic strategy to becoming a cultural and social identity. So much so that Filipinos often refer to them as modern-day heroes. But as we'll explore, this label comes with consequences that go far beyond just money. OFWs pose significant long-term effects on the economy, and damaging effects, mind you. While OFWs serve as an essential financial lifeline for millions of Filipinos, providing them with money for basic needs, housing, education, and even luxury goods in some cases, as well as helping somewhat in alleviating domestic unemployment and providing economic growth via the goods the families spend money on, their existence as well as their remittances back home drains the country of talent, stunts wages, and makes the economy dependent on foreign labor. In this regard, OFWs are the victims of a system that prioritizes short-term gains over anything else. Sure, the remittances and service helps us in attaining those high growth rates every year, But simultaneously, if the economy still grows via unsustainable and consumption-based model the families of OFWs help to cultivate, such as when they use their surplus remittances to purchase imported goods or luxury goods, where is the incentive for the elites and the government to fund more sustainable ventures such as industry or infrastructure? Why fund industries that do give bigger long-term returns and recognition, but require a long amount of time to set up, build, and profit from? The incentive is just not there. Furthermore, another economic toll that promoting overseas work causes, and that the OFWs are a victim of, is the stagnation of local wages. The Philippines has historically lagged behind many of its Southeast Asian neighbors, holding one of the lowest GDP PPP per capita figures in the major ASEAN 6 group, and despite offering competitive nominal salary increases projected at around 5.8% in 2025, higher than Malaysia and Thailand, this growth starts from a significantly lower absolute wage base, a situation exacerbated by the brain drain of skilled workers and a consumption-fueled GDP that has failed to encourage the high-value wage job creation seen in peer economies like Vietnam. For OFWs, this means that they have to stay abroad for longer to get jobs to feed their families, and jobs that give actual financial breathing room. This results in a cycle of more people leaving the country for better pay, employers not raising wages since the current job market is satisfied, and repeat. A cycle that illustrates how employers and the government continue to use their service as an excuse to keep wages low. If it's so bad, why not go abroad, they say. But OFWs don't just affect the economy, they reshape Philippine society and families in a way that most people ignore. At first glance, you see families benefiting from remittances. Kids go to school, parents pay bills, houses get built, and the standard of living rises. Sounds good, right? But there's a hidden cost that money alone can't fix: family and social fragmentation. When parents leave for years, sometimes decades, families are split. Children grow up with absent parents, often raised by grandparents or distant relatives. Emotional bonds weaken, communication suffers, and in some cases, kids turn to delinquency, peer pressure, or escapism because the safety net of parental guidance isn't there. Communities also feel the impact. OFW culture creates a social hierarchy: the ones who went abroad versus the ones who stayed. This often breeds resentment, envy, and a distorted view of success. Suddenly, making it isn't about skill, effort, or innovation. It's about how far you can run from the Philippines. There's also gendered consequences. Many OFWs are women working as domestic helpers or caregivers abroad. Families are left with fathers who are absent or unprepared to handle childcare. Sometimes, roles are reversed awkwardly. Children adapt to new norms, and traditional social structures shift, sometimes causing long-term stress, identity issues, and social instability. And let's not forget mental health. Both OFWs and their family deal with chronic stress, anxiety, and depression. Distance doesn't just separate bodies, it strains minds. The hero narrative conveniently ignores that while OFWs are applauded abroad, they often return home exhausted, disconnected, and even socially alienated. Finally, OFWs reinforce a social mindset of dependency and escape. Instead of building local opportunities, communities start seeing leaving the country as the only path to upward mobility. Young Filipinos internalize this: to succeed, you must leave. This undermines local pride, ambition, and the will to improve society at home. OFWs may be celebrated as heroes, but socially, the system that sends them abroad fractures families, shifts gender roles, strains mental health, and teaches its generation that success means leaving, not building at home. They become victims once more. Victims of a system that thinks success is all about the figures you earn from work, not about mental health, emotional stability, and the bonds you form with your family and the community. All in all, like I said, OFWs deserve praise for their hard work, but we should not glorify their suffering. Seeing them as modern-day heroes not only invalidates the suffering they have working abroad, but it masks the long-term negative economic and social effects that OFWs and the state-sponsored promotion of them give to the Philippines. At the end of the day, they're not people going abroad for a noble cause. They go abroad simply to feed their families. Poverty, unemployment, and a lack of opportunities. These are the main factors as to why they go abroad. And it is sickening that instead of bettering the lives of Filipinos at home by providing higher wages, better jobs, and creating a more sustainable economic framework, All the government and the private sector can do is to provide an OFW lounge at NAIA. We should not praise OFWs, give them recognition for their hard work, yes, but encourage others to go abroad and say it's all fun times? Hell no. Similarly, we shouldn't chastise them. We shouldn't harass them or call them less for going abroad or even pity them in a patronizing way. Rather, we should use them as an example of the failure of a government to provide the basic needs for its citizens and to provide them with basic employment. Beyond that, we should think of OFWs as an example of what not to do and use their suffering as a blueprint for what to provide and improve on for our nation in the future. Anyway, that's all from me now. I'll see you all in the next video.